Mars was no longer the red desert it once was. After centuries of terraforming, it had become a new home for humanity. Cities stretched across canyons, and domes shimmered under the thin atmosphere. Underground, miles below the dusty surface, the true power of the Unified Core Alliance, UCA, kept everything in control: history, technology, and truth. Dr. Alara Voss walked quickly through the cold white halls of the UCA Historical Division. She was 34, slim, sharp-eyed, and always curious. She worked in Archive Sector 7, where old Earth data fragments were decoded and stored. But Alara was not like the others. She didn't just translate history, she questioned it. For years, she had asked the same question: what else is out there that they haven't told us? That question found its answer one quiet morning. A soft chime echoed from her console. It was a deep space ping, an old signal, bouncing off a relay station orbiting Phobos, Mars' smaller moon. Curious, Alara opened the file. Static crackled, but beneath the noise, she saw something strange: a set of Earth-era coordinates, encoded in a dead language no one used anymore. It was older than the UCA itself. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, decoding the file line by line. The words appeared slowly. Protocol Erebus. Vault sealed. Phobos site. 10,000 years dormant. Alara's heart raced. Erebus. She had seen that name before, in a redacted file from a forgotten war, buried under government clearance codes. She leaned back, staring at the screen. This wasn't a random signal. Someone, or something, had sent it, and it had reached her. She stood up and locked her terminal. Within 2 hours, she had filed for leave personal research break and quietly reached out to 2 people she trusted. Junote, an ex-UCA engineer and expert pilot, and Merrick Soul, a cybernetic linguist and part-time conspiracy theorist. They had helped her before, during silent recovery missions. Both were suspicious of the UCA, just like her. That night, under the glow of Mars' pale sky, they met at a private hangar in the outer zone. Phobos. Juno raised an eyebrow. You sure about this? Alara nodded. There's something buried there. Something pre-UCA. Maybe even pre-collapse. It's called Erebus. Merrick frowned. That name gives me a bad feeling. Good, Alara said. It means we're on the right path. They boarded the Raven, Juno's black market transport ship, and took off quietly. The UCA would notice eventually, but by then, they'd already be on Phobos. As they approached the moon, Alara sat at the front window, watching the gray surface grow larger. Phobos was small, quiet, and full of shadows. No colonies. No traffic. Just craters, dust, and secrets. The coordinates led them to a ridge near the equator. Scans showed a hollow space beneath the surface, surrounded by layers of alloy older than any Martian structure. They landed on a flat plateau and stepped out in suits. The surface was silent, the stars distant. Merrick activated a ground scanner. There's definitely something under here. Big. And buried deep. They found a hatch, half covered in rock. No markings. No panels. But it responded to their presence. Slowly, with a deep groan, it slid open, revealing a dark stairwell that led into the moon. Alara felt a chill, not from the cold, but from something older. Something watching. They descended. The walls were smooth metal. Lights flickered faintly as they passed. The air was still and dry. At the end of the tunnel, they reached a massive door, sealed tight. In its center was a symbol none of them recognized, a spiral of stars around a human eye. Alara touched it. The door clicked. Then slowly, silently, it opened. Inside was a chamber like a cathedral. Tall, echoing, with strange machines humming softly after thousands of years. And in the center, resting in a sealed containment pod, was it? A shape. A presence. Not machine, not human. It pulsed faintly, as if dreaming. Marek's voice cracked. That's Erebus? Alara didn't answer. She stepped forward, heart pounding. We just found humanity's oldest secret, she whispered. And it's still alive. The chamber beneath Phobos was silent, but it felt alive. Lights embedded in the walls flickered weakly, powered by ancient energy that still hummed in the metal. The air inside the vault was thin but breathable, as if someone, or something, had planned for humans to return. The walls were smooth, lined with panels covered in unreadable symbols. It was a place untouched by time, sealed for over 10,000 years. Alara Voss moved slowly across the floor, boots echoing in the vastness. Juno stayed near the entrance, her hand resting on the grip of her sidearm. Merrick walked around the room, scanning every surface with his portable data slate. In the center of the vault, enclosed in a thick, transparent chamber was Erebus. It wasn't large, about the size of a human body, but it had no clear form. It was dark, like liquid metal, constantly shifting, pulsing faintly. A soft blue glow surrounded it, lighting up the symbols on the chamber's base. Alara stared at it. "It's not a machine," she said quietly. Merrick nodded. "It's not fully organic either. I've never seen readings like this. It's both. And old. Very, very old." Juno stepped closer, scanning the chamber. "Whatever it is, it's still active." Alara looked around. Dozens of storage units lined the walls, crates, sealed doors, and machines that might have once been terminals. She walked to one and brushed dust from the surface. Her gloved hand touched a small symbol. A flicker of light appeared, followed by a holographic projection. A woman's face appeared, flickering, damaged, but still there. Her voice crackled through the vault. "Project Erebus. Containment stable. Final log. Initiate lockdown. Humanity is not ready." Then the image disappeared. The team stood in silence. Merrick looked around. They didn't bury this because it failed. They buried it because it worked. Alara's mind raced. If Erebus was designed for humanity, why had it been locked away? What was it meant to do? She moved to the main console near Erebus's pod. Most of the interface was unreadable, but her linguistics training helped her recognize a few glyphs. She tapped them carefully, watching as more of the system came online. A series of old logs appeared, voice records, mostly corrupted. Some played in fragments. Erebus is not a weapon in the usual sense. Adapts to environmental threats. DNA rewrite protocol confirmed. Not everyone agrees. Some say we're playing gods. The council fears what we'll become. Then the last log. We must hide it. If Erebus is found, everything changes. Power, control, even human identity. This is too much for them now. Juno looked at Alara. They hid it because it was too powerful. Not just powerful, Alara replied. Dangerous to those in control. If this could change what it means to be human, what happens to governments, armies, empires? Merrick added, and now it's in our hands. They stared at the chamber again. Erebus pulsed gently, like a heart. It wasn't trying to escape. It was just waiting. A soft alarm beeped from Marek's console. He turned pale. We've been pinged. UCA just picked up our ship's location. Juno cursed. They're coming. Alara stepped back from the chamber. Then we need to move fast. They began packing up data, taking copies of the logs, scanning the room, and uploading whatever they could into Alara's storage core. Merrick struggled to keep up. This place is huge, he said. There's enough here to rewrite everything we know. We don't need everything, Alara said firmly. Just enough to prove it's real. They copied the core schematics of Erebus, sealed the room behind them, and made their way back up the tunnel. Every step felt heavier. When they reached the surface, the stars were still bright, but Alara felt the weight of eyes in the sky. Somewhere, a UCA patrol ship had already been dispatched. She could feel it. Juno prepped the Raven for launch. The engines hummed quietly, and the ship lifted from the surface, kicking up a cloud of dust. As they ascended, Alara looked down at the dark moon below. They had found something ancient, something the UCA never wanted discovered. But now it was too late to bury it again. The Raven flew low over the Martian atmosphere, hidden from satellite detection. Inside the ship, the mood was tense. No one spoke for the first few minutes. Each member of the crew was trying to process what they had seen on Phobos. Alara Voss sat at the main terminal, eyes locked on the screen as data from the Erebus vault slowly decrypted. She wasn't afraid, she was focused. She knew the UCA would come after them, and time was running out. Juno piloted the Raven through a storm front. The Martian sky outside the cockpit flashed with dust and lightning. She kept the ship just above the radar line, fingers tight on the controls. In the back, Merrick paced nervously, clutching his slate like a lifeline. Some of this language, he muttered, it's not just old. It's pre-standard Earth dialect. Before the collapse. Maybe even pre-digital. This stuff shouldn't exist. Alara looked over. Can you read it? Barely. But I know what I'm seeing. It's a blueprint. A design, maybe even a code-base. For Erebus. He turned the screen toward her. The image showed a genetic strand, overlaid with mechanical layers. It wasn't just organic or synthetic. It was both, designed to blend perfectly with human DNA. It's a rewrite protocol, he said. But not like anything we've seen. It doesn't just change biology. It enhances everything, reaction time, memory, strength, even adaptability to extreme environments. Erebus was built to help humans survive anything. Alara leaned in. and someone decided that was too dangerous. Juno turned in her seat. You think they were scared of what it would do to people? No, Alara said. They were scared of what it would do to power. Imagine a population that no longer depends on government protection, that can evolve past sickness, radiation, gravity limits. You can't control that kind of humanity. You can't rule it. Merrick whispered, that's why they sealed it. Not to protect us, but to protect their system. The room fell quiet again. A blinking red light appeared on the dash. Incoming transmission. Encrypted UCA frequency. Juno's eyes narrowed. They found us. Alara stood. Don't answer it. Put comms and go dark. Juno flipped the switch. The ship dropped into silent mode. Lights dimmed. Systems shifted to stealth. The Raven dove into a narrow canyon network, flying low to the surface. They reached an old mining station buried in the cliffs, abandoned during the resource wars. It had no power, no network. A perfect place to hide. Inside the bunker, Alara set up a makeshift lab. They activated solar generators, hooked up Marek's equipment, and began a full scan of the Erebus data they had recovered. Hours passed. The wind howled outside, and the walls creaked with age. But inside, they uncovered more secrets. Alara played another ancient audio log recovered from the vault. A calm voice spoke. Erebus is not a weapon of war. It is a final adaptation, a gift to ensure human survival in the face of extinction. If this message is heard, it means humanity once again stands at the edge. You must choose control or evolution. Merrick leaned forward. They weren't trying to destroy the world. They were trying to save it. Exactly, Alara said. And they buried it because the world wasn't ready. But maybe now it is, Juno added. Earth is nearly dead. Mars is hanging on. The outer colonies are starving. Maybe this is what we've been waiting for. Before anyone could reply, the bunker shook. A low rumble passed through the floor. Just fell from the ceiling. Alara's eyes widened. That wasn't wind. They rushed outside. In the sky, a dark silhouette descended, sleek, black, and marked with the UCA crest. They sent a hunter ship, Juno growled. Fast response unit. Stealth class. Merrick whispered, we've got maybe 10 minutes. Inside, Alara opened the final portion of the Erebus file, one last core schematic. It showed a small biological sample, one that could be used to activate the transformation. A single injection. It had been in the vault, and they had taken it. She pulled out the vial from her sample case. It glowed faintly. This is it, she said. The trigger. Juno stepped beside her. If we destroy it, they stop chasing us. Merrick looked between them. If we use it, we change everything. Alara stared at the vial. No more theory. No more history. Now it was a choice. She closed her hand around the vial and looked at the others. We run. We protect this. And when the time comes, we decide if humanity gets a second chance. Outside, the sound of UCA engines grew louder. The race had begun. Dust whipped across the old Martian mining station as the UCA hunter ship descended. The sleek black craft hovered just above the cliffs, silent and deadly. Its engines barely made a sound, but its presence filled the air with dread. Inside the bunker, Alara, Juno, and Merrick worked quickly. The Erebus data drives were packed into hardened cases. The transformation vial was sealed in a protective tube. They all knew what this meant. The UCA wasn't here to talk. They were here to erase everything. 2 dropships detaching, Juno said, peering through the broken skylight. They'll be on us in minutes. We need to move, Alara said. Out the back tunnel. Grab only what matters. Merrick stuffed the core files and decrypted logs into his pack, while Alara secured the vial in a shoulder harness. She took one last glance at the monitor still displaying the Erebus sequence, lines of ancient code, now glowing brightly. Juno smashed the main console with the butt of her pistol. Sparks flew. No evidence left behind. The 3 of them moved fast through a side corridor, descending into an old cargo tunnel that led out to the canyon's edge. Rusted doors, collapsed beams, and flickering lights made their escape slow. But they kept going. Behind them, the main entrance to the station exploded. The sound of boots hitting metal echoed through the halls. The UCA soldiers were coming. Alara kept her breathing steady. She clutched the vial close to her chest. If she fell, everything fell with her. The tunnel ended in a jagged cliff face. Their escape ship, the Raven, was hidden in a small crevice below, cloaked and powered down. Rope line, Juno said, firing a magnetic hook into the rock. The cord held tight. Go. Merrick went first, sliding down awkwardly. Alara followed, careful not to jolt the vial. She reached the bottom just as the first shots rang out from above. Juno fired back with her sidearm before sliding down the line, landing in a crouch. They rushed into the ship. Inside the Raven, systems came online. Engines roared as Juno yanked the ship into the air. Explosions hit the cliff face behind them, but the ship stayed ahead. They're launching a tracker drone. Merrick shouted from the back. Not for long, Juno said, firing a countermeasure. A flash of white light burst behind them, and the drone lost its signal. As the Raven raced through Martian canyons, Alara sat in the rear cabin, holding the vial. Everything was unraveling fast. They could run. They could hide. But not forever. She turned to Merrick. We need to send the data. Merrick looked unsure. If we broadcast this, the UCA will intercept it. Trace it. We'll lose our last hiding place. I'm not talking about broadcasting, Alara said. I'm talking about seeding. Quiet uploads to the outer colonies. Encrypted drops into free networks. Let the truth spread on its own. Merrick nodded slowly. Okay. It'll take time. But I can do it. She watched as he got to work. Line by line, he began splitting the data, disguising it, and pushing it into scattered channels across the Martian underground net. Meanwhile, Juno flew them toward the only place they could still go, an old lab hidden in the polar highlands, where Alara once studied forbidden tech in secret. It was isolated, off-grid, and built for research. It would give them time. Not much, but enough. As they flew, Alara opened the encrypted file labeled Final Activation Protocol. It contained instructions. Precise ones. She read them carefully. DNA match required. No forced use. Must be a willing subject. Results irreversible. Process takes hours. Changes are permanent. Subject may not survive if body is not compatible. She closed the file and stared at the vial. What would it do to her? Would she become something more? Or something less? That night, the Raven landed in the frozen canyons of the north. The lab was cold and silent, built into a cliff. Inside, ancient equipment blinked to life. They unloaded the data drives and prepared the main chamber. Alara stood alone in the mebe, holding the vial. Juno watched her from behind the glass, silent. Merrick entered, placing a hand on the console. You don't have to do this now, he said. Alara looked at the vial again. Yes, I do. Without another word, she placed the vial into the injector. The chamber hissed. A gentle pulse of light scanned her body. Then the needle slid into her skin. She winced, but only for a moment. Warmth spread through her chest, then her arms, her legs, her mind. Not pain, just change. Her breath caught. Her heartbeat slowed, then quickened, then slowed again. Her vision sharpened. Every sound, every vibration in the room became clear. Juno called through the speaker, voice tense. Alara, what's happening? Alara opened her eyes. They glowed faintly silver. I think it's working. Then her knees gave out. Darkness took her. Monitors flashed. Her body trembled. Outside the lab, high above the canyons, UCA satellites passed overhead, searching, listening, watching. But inside the lab, something was waking up. Something ancient. Something human, and more than human. Alara woke in silence. She lay on the cold metal floor of the lab's mebe. The lights above her flickered gently, casting long shadows across the walls. For a moment, she didn't move. Her breathing was steady. Her heart was calm. But everything felt different. Sharper. She sat up slowly. Her joints didn't ache. Her limbs felt lighter. Her thoughts were clear. Every detail in the room stood out, the hum of the generator, the faint crack in the wall, even the subtle pulse of the power core beneath the floor. Juno stood just outside the chamber, staring through the reinforced glass. Alara, she asked carefully. Alara turned her head. Her movements were smooth, quiet. Her eyes glowed faint silver. I'm here, she said. Juno looked stunned. How do you feel? Alara stood up. Like everything makes sense. Merrick entered the room, his expression full of both wonder and fear. He held a scanner in his hands, already running tests from behind the safety screen. Alara, your vitals are off the charts, he said. Your cellular structure, it's rebuilding itself. You're stronger. Faster. Neural activity is 3 times baseline. Erebus rewrote your body on a molecular level. Alara looked down at her hands. They didn't look different, but she could feel the change. It wasn't power in the way most people imagined. It wasn't raw strength or violence. It was evolution, complete and focused. I can feel the temperature shifts in every room, she said softly. I can hear your heartbeat, Merrick. I know Juno's right hand is trembling slightly. And I know the UCA is less than 2 hours away from finding this lab. Merrick blinked. What? There's a drone flying low over the polar ridge. I can hear the pattern of its engine. It's searching. They're coming. Juno stepped forward. Then we need to go now. Alara shook her head. No. We can't run forever. They'll follow us to the edge of the system. They'll hunt us until we vanish. Merrick lowered his slate. Then what? We fight them? With what, Alara? They have fleets. Armies. I don't need an army, she said. I have Erebus. And now, so do all of you. She walked to the main console and brought up the Erebus protocol. Her fingers moved across the controls as if guided by instinct. I'm seeding the transformation file into the net, she said. Encoded, hidden. Only those who need it will find it. Colonies that have been abandoned. Outer worlds that have nothing left. They'll have a choice now. Juno stared at the screen. You're going to share it? Yes, Alara said. Not force it. Not unleash it. Share it. Merrick frowned. And what happens when the UCA finds out? They already have. Alarms blared. The lab sensors picked up incoming ships, fast, armed, and closing in. They're here, Juno said. For transports. One destroyer-class escort. Alara turned toward them, calm. Get to the Raven. I'll hold them here. Merrick stepped back. No. That's suicide. I can slow them down, she said. I can give you the time to finish uploading the protocol. You know how. You've seen it. Get it out. Spread the truth. Juno grabbed her arm. Alara, you don't have to do this. I do, she said softly. Because I'm not just a scientist anymore. She opened a hidden locker in the wall, revealing a dark, smooth suit, pre-collapse combat armor lined with adaptive tech. She stepped into it, sealed the helmet, and activated the system. It responded instantly to her enhanced body, syncing with her movements like a second skin. As the power surged through her, she looked at her friends one last time. Tell them the truth. Tell them Erebus was never a weapon. It was a doorway. The ground shook as missiles hit the outer cliffs. The UCA forces were landing. Alara opened the reinforced bay door and stepped out into the ice storm. Wind howled across the tundra. Dropships hovered in the sky, searchlights sweeping the snow. Soldiers dropped into formation, weapons ready. They weren't prepared for what stood before them. Alara walked calmly into the storm, the silver light in her eyes brighter now. And then she ran, faster than any of them could react. She moved through their lines like lightning, disarming, disabling, never killing. She wasn't there to destroy. She was there to show them what evolution looked like. Inside the lab, Juno and Merrick watched the security feeds with wide eyes. She was holding back a military force alone. She's stalling them, Merrick said. We have maybe 20 minutes. Then let's not waste it, Juno replied, pushing the final upload. We finish what she started. Outside, Alara stood on the ridge, surrounded by smoke and sparks. More ships were coming. But she wasn't afraid. She was ready. The sky above the polar ridge was on fire. UCA dropships hovered in a tight formation, pouring down streams of light and smoke. Their soldiers moved with perfect discipline, sweeping the icy canyon with scanners and rifles. But even with all their training and weapons, they were afraid. Because nothing moved like Alaravas. She blurred through their lines faster than they could aim. Every step she took left a ripple in the snow. Every movement was precise, never wasteful, never violent unless needed. She didn't fight to kill. She fought to hold the line. And she was winning. Inside the old lab, Juno and Merrick watched the data upload climb. The progress bar blinked. 85%. 91%. 94%. Merrick wiped sweat from his forehead. Almost there. Juno's voice was tight. She can't hold them forever. The power flickered. The lab shook again. A UCA shock team had landed on the roof. Juno jumped to her feet and drew her weapon. Go to the Raven. I'll finish this. Merrick hesitated. But no time. Alara's giving us this shot. We don't waste it. Merrick nodded once, then grabbed the portable core and ran for the tunnel. Juno stayed behind. She watched the upload hit 100%. A soft chime rang out. Transmission complete. The Erebus protocol had been sent, fragmented, encrypted, and hidden in the dark corners of every open network on Mars. From there, it would spread to the outer colonies, to the forgotten worlds, to every station that had ever struggled in silence. The truth was out. Outside, Alara stood at the edge of a cliff, surrounded. Dozens of UCA soldiers aimed at her. Behind them, Director Cade Myros stepped from a command dropship, dressed in black armor, his face cold and unreadable. Alaravas, he said through a speaker. You've gone far enough. You have something that doesn't belong to you. Alara's helmet retracted, revealing her face. Her silver-glowing eyes met his. You buried it, she said calmly. But it was never yours to bury. Cade raised a hand, signaling his men to hold. You don't understand what you're playing with. You think evolution is a gift, but it's a threat. We built stability over centuries. Erebus would tear that down in a single generation. Alara stepped forward. Then maybe it should. His jaw tightened. Last chance. Surrender. She smiled. I already won. Behind her, the sky shifted. A signal echoed across the network, quiet but unstoppable. It moved through backdoor relays, colony beacons, forgotten satellites. Everywhere the UCA tried to hide the past, the Erebus protocol spread like wildfire. In the outer colonies, people began receiving the files. Miners on Europa opened encrypted messages. Farmers on the terraformed moons of Saturn watched old Earth logs appear on their consoles. Scientists on asteroid labs studied the activation key, wondering if it could really work. They all had a choice now. Back on Mars, Alara saw Cade's eyes widen. He understood. The future had already left his hands. Stand down, she said. Cade hesitated. For the first time, his confidence cracked. Then the ground behind Alara rumbled, and the Raven lifted from the cliffs, Juno at the controls, Merrick waving from the co-pilot's seat. Alara turned and leapt high, landing on the ship as it passed. Juno accelerated, dodging blasts from the ground. The Raven soared into the sky, vanishing into the clouds. They didn't chase her. Cade stared after the ship, silent. He had lost something he could never get back. Days passed. On a distant colony far beyond Mars, a young girl named Kale sat on the edge of a dome, staring up at the stars. Her family farm barely survived. The air was thin. Water was scarce. Her datapad pinged with a strange, hidden file. It had no sender, just a title. Project Erebus, Humanity's Next Step. Kale opened the file. The screen lit up with images, Alara's logs, messages, and the choice. As she watched, her eyes glowed faintly silver. She smiled. Alara Voss stood alone on a quiet moon, watching a new sunrise. She wasn't just human anymore. She was the first of something new. Not a weapon, not a god, just a reminder. That truth can't stay buried forever. That evolution can be a choice. That humanity wasn't done yet.